Hi, I'm Allie with the Potomac Bead Company, and I'm going to show you how to make our leather and chain bracelet. And I'm actually going to be using cotton cording to do this, so you can use a number of different materials. The size Rolo chain that I'm using is an Italian Rolo, and it is sterling silver plated. It's 3.8 millimeter. You can also do this bracelet with a bigger, wider and thicker chain. You'll just need to use a thicker cotton cording or a leather. The cotton cording that I'm using is a 1 millimeter cotton cording. I've went ahead and I've cut 3 equal pieces of 6 inches of the chain. I've bound them together at the top here with a piece of wire just to hold them as I'm working with them. And for the cotton cording, I've cut 4.5 feet of cotton cording. If you have a bigger wrist, you may want to make this a little bit bigger. My wrist is actually smaller. Normally when I do this, I cut about 5.5 inches. I'm going to cut it an inch shorter than my wrist size. To start out, and then I also have 2 little beads here on the side, we'll use them later. To start out, I'm going to skip to the 3rd link of chain on each one, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to put my cotton cording through that 3rd link. I want to even out my cotton cording, so that way on each side I have my 2 plus feet, because you don't want to get to the end and not have enough on one side. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to continue skipping a link and going into the next one in line and putting my chain. One of the leather is going to go, or the cording is going to go from right to left, and the other one is going to go left to right. What that's going to do is just create a little cup on the side, and then you're going to see the cording. One thing that I forgot to mention is I did take my cotton cording, especially if you're using cotton cording versus leather. I did take it prior to this, and I took some super glue and super glued the ends so it wouldn't fray. You can do that with leather too if you want, but it's more important with cotton cording or if you're using a material that will fray. So I've crisscrossed through that little loop right there in my chain. I'm going to skip again through, and again my chain is going to go through the next hole in line. One going from right to left and one going left to right. I don't want to pull too tight because then my chain will get messed up, and I also don't want to hold it too loose or I'll get a lot of my cording bubbling on the sides. After I get this through here, I'm going to continue with this same pattern going from one side to the other side the whole length of my bracelet, and just making sure that I'm not pulling too tight or too loose. Now that I've gone the whole way back through my bracelet, you can see when you lay it out that the leather or the cotton cording, whatever you use, it's not going to be consistent until you wear it a couple times. Then it's going to really even out and it'll be consistent along the bracelet. I've gone through the last link of my chain, and both cordings are going through the opposite way. What I'm going to do then is fold over to the front of my bracelet here, and I'm going to be using the cotton cording ends. And what I'm going to do is pick up that first row of chain that I originally skipped, and I'm going to crisscross through that as well. So I'm crisscrossing through all 3 of those. And I'm making sure that when I fold it over, that the chain is going, the one that's on the left is going to stay to the left, and the one that's on the right will stay to the right. I'm going to cross through those chains. And what that's going to do is that's going to create almost like a slip knot that I'm going to use to put it on and off my wrist. If it gets really, really loose and you have a smaller cording that's not really working, you can measure and see if you can get 3 pieces of cording through the link of the loop above it, and then you can just cut off the last loop. My cording is going to be too thick that it's not going to go through 3 times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my extra cording here, and I'm going to stick a bead on each end. I'm then going to tie these beads into place, and I want it to be just big enough that it can fit and expand to fit over my wrist. So I'm going to measure it with my wrist here so I can figure out how to get it over my thumb and how big it needs to be in the widest portion. Pull it nice and tight after that. And that's going to be where I knot at the end of my cording. I can slide my hands out now. Knot the end. Pull it nice and tight. And then I'm just going to take a scissors simply and cut off the extra cording on the other side. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, and then the bracelet is complete. When I put it on, I just pull the slip knots like that, and it's just going to hang out on my wrist nice and little like that. And that is the leather and chain, or in my case I made it with the cotton end chain bracelet.